Hi, I'm Joy, and thanks for stopping by Joybird Art. I'm looking rather casual and natural today because it's one of my favorite times of the year. And to celebrate the fun of late summer tonight, after this afternoon I'd gone to our local water park, which explains why I have pool hair and kind of a little bit of a tan on my face. Had a really good afternoon. I thought with some time this evening, what better time to come home and start working again on a frog project that I started this spring, and also wanted to show you some of the recent things that I've also been working on in the last few weeks. So the first thing I wanted to show you tonight are two paintings that I have relatively completed. This is a pineapple that I've been working on. This was completed last week. I started it 2 weeks ago. This was a really fun project, very different than anything I've painted before. I had to kind of get out of my comfort zone and paint there, as you can see on the top, some blues and purples to get some dimension in there. Kind of adventurous. I saw a lot of people online are doing pineapples with crazy colors, and I think that's really fun. This is a really challenge for me and my painting group. A couple weeks ago, we each painted things that were very different. I had it mostly done after class, but I went back in later and added some detail there to the surface of the pineapple. Oh, and a brave try at a shadow there. As you'll see as you're watching my work more online, I tend to finish an object of a painting and then get scared to do a shadow and then mess up the painting. So I'm trying to work at getting more brave with that. And I have one more example of that I'll show you right now. And this is something I'm actually really happy with at this point. Again, something very different than I'd done before. We had an orange pepper, and so the project was to paint 3 views of it. And I painted the first 2 with the group there at the top, the exterior views of it, and then I came here to the studio a few days later and I painted the cut view from a photograph that I found. And so that was an interesting project too. It's, like I said, very different than what I'm used to. I tried to be bold and sort of messy with the shadows there, to kind of just loosen up and not be as intimidated or afraid of that part of a project as sometimes I tend to be and don't really need to be. And it does add some interesting sort of realism, even if it's kind of an abstract thing there. I also learned a lot. I want to show you here a little more detail of the cut view. I feel like I learned a lot, even in small detail, about use of color and value to create shape and depth there on the interior areas of the pepper. So it was something I enjoyed a lot working on. Now this is another project I feel is not as successful, but I'm going to keep working at it. And we all found in our painting group this one to be very challenging. The leader brought a red cabbage, or purple cabbage as you may call it. Exterior shot still in progress, and I'm not quite sure what I think about it yet, but again, for the 3 of us, very different approaches, very different styles, and even color schemes. I also was painting, as you can see, the back of the cabbage, or the bottom, and the other 2 people in the group were painting the top view, which showed more of the leaves and more greens and purples in there. And then the bottom view is a cut view that she gave us to work on, and I found this to be completely different than anything I painted before. And I don't necessarily like the way I approach the shapes, but I'm going to keep working on these, putting in some new layers of glazing, and kind of just looking over how that detail actually looks in a cabbage, and sort of balancing between realism and a kind of creative approach to a project like this. So that's all I have to say about those projects for now. I want to show you what I'll be working on here tonight. This is one that I started, as I mentioned, earlier in the spring. This is another version of a frog painting that I had done that had 2 frogs. This is a single frog, and I have a setup with a photograph that I'd worked from. I did do the background, as you can see, a few months ago, and I left the frog blank. So that's what I'll be working on for my time here tonight on the patio, late summer. Single frog with the kind of tie-dye background here, which so far I think is pretty fun. So I'll get set up and then get to painting.